Hello everyone and welcome to another cider drinker list video. Red flags. They're never a good sign regardless of what industry you're in. And today I am going to go over 5 red flags that you guys need to watch out for when you're buying a cider, whether that be from a supermarket or your local bottle shop. Some of them are a little bit more niche than others, and also this isn't a universal fact either. So take these red flags with a little pinch of salt. They don't apply to every single cider out there, but they're just a little something to watch out for and when you're making an informed choice as to when you're buying your next cider. So I'm going to start off with the first red flag, which is a little bit of a niche one, and it's to do with this product right here. Well, not specifically this particular product, this is just Tesco's clear honey, but it's what's inside the honey. So honey ciders are not a massive thing, you know, they're not dominating supermarket shelves or anything like that. But over my time, I have reviewed about 4 or 5, maybe even more, different honey ciders out there. So this one goes out to more of the vegans out there actually, because some people might not know this, but vegans can't have honey. So much like cow's milk and eggs, they are an animal byproduct, and honey is the exact same thing. So it does boggle the mind sometimes when some honey ciders are vegan, which I have seen before in the past. You know full well that the honey that's gone into that cider is not real honey, otherwise it wouldn't be vegan. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a smaller red flag for this, but you know that if you're buying a honey cider and it's vegan, it's not the real deal. But I suppose it's good for vegans because it means they can actually have it, but it's just a little something to point out if you do ever see a honey cider out there in the wild. So this next red flag, it's getting onto the more bigger subjects here, and this is one, it's getting a little bit better, but there are still some cider producers out there that don't list their ingredients on the cider bottles. Why? Almost every single product out there on the supermarket shelves and in bottle shops and things like that, they list their ingredients on the back of the bottle or on the label somewhere, and it just really confuses me as to why cider doesn't do the same. A lot of these big macro producers are now doing it. I think Kopparberg and I think Strongbow have ingredients on the sides of their cans and stuff. But I've seen some more independent cider producers that still don't do it. Now, that's not to say that in their description on the back of the label, if they've specifically said made using 100% fresh pressed apples or something like that, that's all cool. You've said what has gone into this particular cider, but it's when particular producers don't list anything in the back of their bottles, you do have to sort of question, what are they trying to hide? At least I do anyway, because if you're being transparent about things, not only does it inform the consumer what they're going to be getting, but it also gives those producers a bit more clout. You know, they're not trying to hide anything, and they're showing exactly what goes into their product, and it allows people like us to make an informed choice when they're buying it. So producers out there, get those ingredients on the back of the cider bottles or cans that you're producing. Even if it is literally just 100% fresh pressed apples, mention it somewhere, because it does make a big difference. Trust me, it does. So this third red flag is, well, it's kind of a marketing technique, and this kind of leads into step 4 as well. Over my years, I've found, when I've been doing these reviews, that there are certain buzzwords that are used on ciders that generally mean they're actually not that great. The biggest culprit of this is the word premium. If you see the word premium on a cider now, generally it means it's not good quality. And I feel, personally, the word premium has lost all of its merit over the years. It's literally plastered on anything you get. You see it on probably like Timo or something like that, you know, on certain products like that. And you see it on ciders as well. They say it's premium quality or premium this or that. And generally, if they're listing that as that, most of the time, it's not that great of a drink. So I feel like it's just this marketing buzzword that they plaster onto their cans or their vessels or whatever they're using. And it it draws people in. They see that word and they think, oh, this is going to be a nice one. But generally, not. Not all the time, as I say, not all the time. There have been some ciders I've had that have said premium on it, and they have been really good, but more often than not, it's not great. Some other marketing buzzwords I've seen are crisp and refreshing. I see that in a lot of these like lighter ciders and things on supermarket shelves, but generally what crisp and refreshing refers to is bland and uninteresting. Generally, anyway. I mean, it sort of comes with the territory. It's normally a cider that gets chucked into a glass and filled with ice, and it's just a thirst quencher. But for crisp and refreshing, generally not. It is just a very safe cider. And that's why you generally don't see that on these more high-end ciders that you can get out there. So yeah, just bear in mind, look out for the particular wording that's gone on to the cider bottles and everything. If you see these sort of like marketing buzzwords come up, you might not get as good of a cider as you originally thought. As I said, not all the time, but bear that in mind. And this leads into the fourth red flag that I've noticed is if something is over-marketed. And this, again, happens a lot in supermarkets where you go to the end of an aisle and there's just a big old stand with, I don't know, it could be Inches cider or Copperberg or something like that. And there's banners, there's all like savings and all this stuff, and they're really trying to push this push this product out into a consumer's hands. Normally, that means like it's a big company, they've got a lot of money behind them, and normally the products that they push out aren't as great. It doesn't always mean the case, but generally you find this with the big dogs, you know, the Strongbows, and as I've already mentioned, the Copperberg and the Inches and things like that. Especially in my local supermarket, you see them just emblazoning the ends and everything. If you go into the more upmarket supermarkets out there, like Marks and Spencer and Waitrose, you get better marketing placements there. It's not your run-of-the-mill sort of stuff. I think the last time I went in Waitrose, they were doing like a big stand of Hawkstone cider. I mean, that's really like got this marketing pushed out there, you know, especially with, you know, Jeremy Clarkson's name behind it and things, that people sort of like go for the name, don't they? But generally that is, I'm actually quite surprised by those ciders. I've still not reviewed them, but I have had them before. But spoilers, they're actually not that bad, which they ought to be for the prices, but I'm getting onto that in a second. But generally, if a cider is over marketed and you see it just emblazoning the shop shelves, you generally think it's catering more for like the mass marketed people. So if you've never tried it before, go in it with a pinch of salt, or a grain, you know, just take it for face value that, you know, it might not be as good as you think. And this leads me on to the biggest red flag out there, actually, and that is price doesn't always equal quality. And I've seen this happen so many times where these premium products are sold for premium prices, but actually they're anything but. You do have to be very careful when it comes to pricing. I mean, for example, Hawkstone, going back to Hawkstone cider. Now, I have said already that they are good ciders, but they are definitely one of the most expensive ciders on supermarket shelves right now, especially the berry one. I think it's something like £3.25, £3.35 a bottle at my local Sainsbury's. And the original Hawkstone is £3, and it's not on any other multi-buy offers either, so that is the face value that you get. But then, on the flip side, you go to Home Bargains, and you never know what you're going to get there. It's going to be a veritable treasure trove of things, potentially. And I reviewed a cider, I can't remember what it was called, but it was only 99 pence a bottle. And I'll tell you what, it was really decent, especially for the price. And recently I went there and I managed to get a bottle of Glastonbury ciders, Magog I think it was, and that was £1.39. And looking on Untapped, it's got really decent reviews too. Also, take those with a pinch of salt as well. But generally, I think that's going to be a good cider. I could be wrong, but for the price, it's worth a punt, isn't it? I know it's not a cider, but I got a 4-pack of Wrexham Lager from there as well for £2.79. Which was, well, it equates to 69 pence per 440ml can. And I tell you what, it's actually really decent, especially for the price. So, just because something is really cheap or just because something is really expensive doesn't mean that it's going to be rubbish or it's going to be brilliant. Yeah, so just bear those thoughts in mind. In fact, all of these red flags that I've mentioned, just bear them in mind next time you go out to your local bottle shop, your local tap room, your local supermarket or whatever. And just put them to the back of your mind just so you've got them in mind. And hopefully you've learned a little bit today, and I hope these bits of advice, they have helped you make a more informed decision when it comes to buying cider. As I said, they're not 100% gospel, but yeah, just bear them in mind. Hope you enjoyed this video. I did want to do this for a little while, and I'm finally got the chance to do it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I am going to be doing some more list videos in the future as well. I just need to think of ideas for them. If you do have any ideas for a list for me, by the way, pop them down in the comments below. I always check the comments on my videos, and yeah, it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on it. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be back on another Cider Drinker video very soon. Until then, hope you have a good one. I'll see you soon. Cheers.